Hey everyone, welcome to Midnight Mystic Stories. I noticed a lot of you who are watching and enjoying the content aren't subscribed yet. If you love spine-chilling stories, creepy encounters, and unexplained mysteries, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. It really helps the channel grow and helps us keep bringing more of the content you love. And be sure to comment below where you are tuning in from. Thank you and enjoy the video. I never thought a dating app would be the last thing I open on my phone. Not because I was done with love or anything like that, but because it felt like every person on there was either pretending to be someone they weren't, or they just didn't care. But I was lonely and bored, and honestly, I had nothing better to do that Friday night than scroll through profiles like I was picking a meal from a sad takeout menu. Then I saw her. Her name was Elise. She had dark brown hair that fell just past her shoulders, soft green eyes, and a smile that didn't look too perfect, like she actually meant it. Her bio was short, just something about loving long walks, old horror movies, and rainy days. No gym selfies, no group photos where you can't even tell which one she is. Just her, standing in front of a record store, holding a vinyl copy of The Velvet Underground in Nico. Something about that felt real. I swiped right. Match. We started talking that night. Not the usual, hey, how's your day stuff. She asked me about the last book I read, and when I said it was a sci-fi novel about memory loss, she told me she once had a dream where she forgot her own name. It wasn't just clever. It felt deep, like she actually thought about things. We talked for hours. She lived about 40 minutes away, in a town I'd never been to, but she said she didn't mind driving if I didn't either. I offered to go to her place. She hesitated for a second, then said okay. Gave me an address just outside the city, near the woods. The drive took longer than I expected. The GPS kept glitching, like it lost signal every few miles. The roads got narrower, the streetlights fewer. Trees crowded the edges, their branches scraping the sides of my car when I passed too close. When I finally pulled up, her house was small, gray, set back from the road with a crooked fence and a rusted mailbox. The porch light was on, flickering like it was about to die. I texted her I was here. She replied instantly, "Come in, front door is open." That should have been the first red flag. Front door open in the middle of nowhere? But I was already inside, heart thumping more from nerves than fear. The house smelled like old wood and lavender. Quiet. Too quiet. No TV, no music, not even a clock ticking. The living room had a couch, a coffee table with a single candle burning low, and a bookshelf full of paperbacks with cracked spines. No photos on the walls. No personal stuff at all, really. Elise came down the stairs barefoot, wearing a long sweater and jeans. She looked exactly like her pictures, maybe even better. She smiled, hugged me, warm, soft, and said she was glad I came. She offered tea, and I said sure, while she disappeared into the kitchen. I sat on the couch, trying to relax, but something felt off. The way the shadows moved in the corners. The way the candle flame didn't flicker, even though there was a draft. The silence. It wasn't peaceful. It was like the house was holding its breath. She brought the tea in chipped porcelain cups. We talked about music, about dreams, about the weird feeling you get when you're in a place you've never been but feel like you've seen before. She said she got that a lot. Said she used to live in a different house, one that burned down. She didn't say how. Just stared into her tea, like she was watching something in the steam. Then she asked if I wanted to see her favorite room. I followed her upstairs. The steps creaked under us. Her room was at the end of the hall. She opened the door slowly, like she was giving me time to back out. But I didn't. I walked in. It was empty. No bed, no dresser, nothing. Just white walls and a single window covered by thick black curtains. But the floor was different. Darker in the center, like something had stained it. I took a step closer, and my shoe stuck slightly, like the wood was damp. Elise stood behind me. "That's where it happened," she said, voice flat. I turned. "What happened?" She didn't answer. Instead, she walked to the curtain and pulled it open. The window looked out into the trees. But not just trees. There were shapes in the dark, figures, standing perfectly still between the trunks. Too many to count, all facing the house. My breath caught. Who are they? She didn't look at me. They've been here since the fire. They don't come closer. They just watch. I wanted to leave. I really did. But my legs wouldn't move. Not because I was scared, though I was, but because something in me didn't believe any of it. Like this was a test or a game, and if I stayed calm, I'd figure it out. Then she said, I don't remember much about that night. Just the smoke, the heat, and the sound of my own voice, screaming for someone who never came. I looked at her. Really looked. Her eyes were dry. No emotion. Just a quiet emptiness. I died that night, she said. But I didn't leave. I backed up, hit the wall. My heart was slamming against my ribs. This isn't funny. She tilted her head. I'm not trying to be funny. I rushed past her, down the stairs, out the front door. My car started on the first try. I peeled out, gravel flying, eyes darting to the rear view. The house got smaller behind me. The trees swallowed it whole. But when I checked the passenger seat, my phone was gone. I must have left it inside. I didn't go back. The next day, I searched her name online. Nothing. No social media. No public records. I drove past the address. The house was gone. Just an empty lot, overgrown with weeds, a charred foundation barely visible under the grass. I told myself it was a prank, an elaborate one. Maybe she hired people to stand in the woods. Maybe the stain was paint. Maybe she used some kind of trick with the house. But then, a week later, I was lying in bed, phone in hand, scrolling again, trying to forget it ever happened. And there she was. Same profile, same picture, same bio. I stared at it. My finger hovered over the block button. Then a message popped up. Elise, I knew you'd come back. My phone screen went black. When it turned back on, the app was gone, uninstalled. But the message was still there, glowing in the dark. Elise, I like you because you listened. Most people don't. They talk, but they don't hear. You did. That's why I picked you. I threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall and cracked, but stayed on. Another message. Elise, I'm outside. I didn't move. I couldn't. My eyes locked on the bedroom window. The curtains were closed. But slowly, from the bottom up, they began to rise. Not by hand, just rising. And outside, in the dark, between the trees, I saw them. The figures, standing still, watching, waiting. The candle in my room flickered, though there was no candle. And then, soft as a breath, a whisper came from the corner. You're here now, and you're not leaving. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy who downloads a dating app just to feel less alone at night. But here I am, swiping left and right like some sad robot program to hope. It was raining that Tuesday, non-stop, gray, depressing rain that made the city feel like a wet basement. I'd just broken up with my last girlfriend after she told me I was emotionally quiet, whatever that means. Probably just a fancy way of saying I don't cry during rom-coms. So I downloaded Glow, this new app that promised real connections and no games. Yeah, right. But her profile stood out. Her name was Lila. She had dark hair that curled at the ends, like it was always slightly damp, and eyes that looked like they'd seen something they couldn't unsee. She lived downtown, worked part-time at a bookstore, and her bio said she liked thunderstorms, old cameras, and watching people without them knowing. That last part should have been a red flag, but I swiped right anyway. Match. She messaged me almost instantly. Said she'd been watching my profile for 3 days. That felt creepy, but also kind of flattering, like I mattered enough to be stalked. We agreed to meet at this tiny coffee shop near the river, the Drip, it's called. Quiet, dim lighting, the kind of place where people go to disappear. I got there early, ordered a black coffee, and sat near the back, scanning the room. When she walked in, I almost didn't recognize her. She looked softer in person. Wore a beige trench coat that was dripping wet, like she'd walked through the storm instead of around it. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes, but she had this way of tilting her head when she listened, like every word I said was a secret. We talked about books, music, the weirdness of modern life. She said she collected expired film rolls and developed them just to see what people had forgotten to delete. Sometimes the best photos are the ones they didn't mean to take, she said. I laughed, but something about that stuck with me. After 2 hours, she suggested we walk. Said the rain had slowed, and she liked how the city looked when it was half drowned. I didn't want the night to end, so I agreed. We walked along the river path, past closed-up food trucks and empty benches. The air smelled like wet pavement and something else, something metallic, like old pipes. She stayed close, her shoulder brushing mine every few steps. I liked it. Felt real. Then she stopped near a broken lamppost and pointed to a narrow alley between two boarded-up buildings. There's a shortcut, she said. Takes us right to the bridge. I hesitated. The alley was dark, no lights, just a puddle reflecting the distant glow of a street lamp. But she was already walking in, so I followed. Halfway through, the sound of our footsteps changed, echoing, like the walls were closer than they looked. I glanced back. The entrance was still visible, but it felt smaller, like the alley had narrowed behind us. Lila kept walking, calm, hands in her coat pockets. Then she stopped and turned to me. You ever feel like you're being watched even when you're alone? She asked. I said no, but that wasn't true. I'd felt it for weeks, like someone was just behind me, just out of sight. She smiled then, slow, and reached into her pocket, pulled out a small, old camera. Not digital, the kind with film. Smile, she said. Before I could react, she snapped a photo. The flash was blinding in the dark. I blinked, disoriented, and when I opened my eyes, she was gone. I called her name. Nothing. Ran to the end of the alley. No one. Checked my phone. No signal. Walked back to the entrance. The street was empty. No cars, no pedestrians, even though it was only 9. I started walking fast, then jogging, then full-on sprinting toward the bridge. My heart was slamming against my ribs. When I finally reached a well-lit area, I stopped, breathing hard, pulled out my phone. Still no signal. Then I saw it, a photo notification. From Glow. A message from Lila. You look better in real life, it said. Attached was the photo she took. I opened it. The image was dark, grainy, but clear enough. It was me, standing in the alley, eyes wide, mouth open like I was about to scream. But I wasn't alone. Behind me, just over my shoulder, was another me. Same clothes, same face, but his eyes were hollow, his mouth twisted into a grin that didn't belong on my face. He was reaching out, one hand almost touching my back. I dropped the phone like it burned me. Looked around. People passing by, minding their own business. Normal. Fine. I picked up the phone, deleted the app, blocked her, and walked home in silence. The next few days were weird. Not bad, just off. I catch my reflection in a window and swear I saw myself blink a second too late. My roommate said I'd been talking in my sleep, saying things like, "You don't need to," and "I was here first." I chalked it up to stress. Then, last night, I woke up to the sound of clicking, like a camera shutter. I sat up, heart pounding. My room was dark, but the closet door was open. I never leave it open. I got up, walked over, and pulled it wider. Nothing. Just clothes, shoes, my old backpack. But on the floor, right in the center, was a single printed photo. It was another shot from that alley. This one showed Lila, standing beside the other me. They were both looking at the camera. She was smiling. He was holding my favorite jacket, the one I wore that night, and written on the back, in messy handwriting, "He fits better." I didn't sleep after that. Sat by the window until sunrise, watching the streets. This morning, I went to the mirror to brush my teeth. I stared at my reflection for a long time. Then I smiled. It smiled back, but I didn't move my lips. I tried again. This time, I kept my mouth shut. The reflection grinned anyway, slow and wide, like it knew something I didn't. I backed away, hit the wall, slid down to the floor. My phone buzzed on the counter. I didn't want to look, but I did. New message. Unknown number. Just one line. You should have taken the longer way. I'm writing this now because I don't know how much time I have left. I can feel it, something shifting under my skin, like I'm being worn. My hands don't feel like mine. My voice sounds deeper when I talk to myself. I check the closet again. The jacket's gone. In its place is a trench coat, damp at the edges, like it's been out in the rain. I think he's almost ready. We started talking in the comments, then moved to messages. She didn't say much about herself. No selfies, no stories, just thoughts. Deep, weird thoughts. Like how she believed silence had weight, or that cities breathe at night. I thought it was poetic. Pretentious, maybe, but in a sexy way. After a week of late-night texts, she said she lived just 20 minutes from me. Small world, right? I offered to pick her up. She said no. Said she'd meet me at this diner off Route 9. Midnight. Neon sign flickering. The kind of place you only stop at when your GPS glitches. I got there early. The parking lot was cracked, puddles reflecting the red and blue glow from the sign. One car, a dusty sedan with its back window busted, sat in the corner. The air smelled like wet asphalt and something sour, like old fries buried under gravel. I sat in my car, tapping my thumbs on the steering wheel, checking my phone every few seconds. She said she'd be there. Said she always kept her word. When she walked in, I almost didn't recognize her. Not because she looked different. She looked exactly like her voice, just softer in person. Wearing a long coat, dark jeans, hair tucked under a beanie. She smiled when she saw me, small but real. I followed her inside, the bell above the door jingling like a warning. The diner was empty except for a tired-looking waitress wiping down the counter. We sat in a booth by the window. The vinyl seat cracked under me as I slid in. She didn't touch the menu, just stared at me, eyes wide, like she was trying to remember my face from a dream. We talked. Not small talk, real talk. About fears, about the way time feels slower in basements, about how sometimes you wake up knowing someone was watching you sleep. She said she'd always been able to sense people's fears, like they left a scent. I laughed, but not because it was funny, because it made my skin prickle. She asked if I believed in past lives. I said maybe. She said she remembered hers. Said she used to live in a house with no doors, just hallways that loop back on themselves. Said she died there. I didn't know what to say, so I took a sip of coffee. It tasted like burnt plastic. Then she asked if I wanted to see something cool. We left the diner. The night had gotten heavier, the air thick like wet wool. She walked fast, not saying where we were going. I followed, my pulse ticking up. We turned down a side road, then another, until the streetlights stopped and the houses got smaller, older. Some had plywood over the windows. Others looked like they'd been abandoned for years. She stopped in front of a 2-story house with peeling paint and a sagging porch. No lights on, no car, just a single rocking chair moving slowly, even though there was no wind. She didn't knock, just opened the door. It wasn't locked. Inside, the air was colder, the kind of cold that settles in your bones. The walls were covered in old wallpaper. The pattern faded into ghost shapes. There was no furniture, just footprints in the dust. She walked ahead, barefoot now, her steps silent. I hesitated at the door, but something pulled me in. Maybe curiosity. Maybe the way she looked back at me, like she already knew I'd follow. We went upstairs. The steps creaked under my weight, but not hers. The second floor had 3 doors. She opened the middle one. The room was empty except for a mirror on the wall. An old, heavy thing with a wooden frame carved with symbols I didn't recognize. She stood in front of it, then stepped aside, motioning for me to look. I did. At first, I saw myself, tired eyes, messy hair, jacket still zipped. But then the reflection changed. My face blurred, like water rippling. Then it wasn't me anymore. It was an older version, gaunt, eyes hollow. He was wearing the same jacket, but torn. And behind him, in the reflection of the reflection, I saw her, standing where I was now. But she wasn't looking at the mirror. She was looking at me, smiling. I turned around. She was right behind me, closer than I thought. Her breath was slow even. She didn't say anything, just reached up and touched the side of my face. Her fingers were ice. That's when I noticed the smell. Not just dust, something underneath. Sweet and rotten, like meat left in a closed room. I backed up, but my foot hit something. I looked down. A small wooden box, half hidden under the doorframe. I picked it up. Light. I opened it. Inside was a lock of hair, tied with red string, and a name carved into the bottom of the box. Mine. I dropped it like it burned me. She didn't move. Just watched me, calm, like she'd seen this before. 100 times. I ran. Down the stairs, through the front door, across the yard. I didn't stop until I was back in my car. Engine roaring, tires spitting gravel. I drove home, hands shaking, checking the rear view every few seconds. The next morning, I tried calling her. Texting. Nothing. Her profile was gone. Like she vanished. I thought I was safe. Thought it was over. But last night, I woke up to the sound of my front door opening. I stayed in bed, frozen, listening. Footsteps. Slow. Familiar. Then silence. I turned on the lamp. She was sitting at the foot of my bed. Same coat. Same beanie. She didn't look at me. Just reached into her pocket and pulled out a small wooden box. Placed it on the nightstand. Then she whispered, so quiet I almost didn't hear it. You left yours behind. I haven't moved since. I can't. The box is still there. I know what's inside. I know whose hair it really is. And I know she's not coming back to get it. She's already got what she wanted. I wasn't the type of guy to swipe right on someone like her. Not because she wasn't attractive. She was, in that quiet, almost too perfect way. But because she seemed like the kind of person who'd vanish if you looked away. Her profile was sparse. Just 3 photos and a bio that said I like long walks and short lies. That should have been my first red flag, but I was bored, lonely, and my last date had ended with me watching a documentary about sinkholes alone in my apartment. So I swiped, she matched, and within minutes we were texting like we'd known each other for years. Her name was Elise. She lived on the other side of town, near the old rail yards where the city starts to thin out into woods and abandoned warehouses. She said she worked from home, something vague about data entry, and that she loved thunderstorms. I told her I liked horror movies and cooking, which was half true. I liked watching people cook on YouTube, but I mostly lived off frozen burritos and gas station sushi. Still, she laughed at my jokes, asked questions, remembered the small things. It felt real. Too real, maybe. Our first date was supposed to be at a little Italian place downtown, cozy with dim lighting and red wine on tap. I got there early, checked my hair in the bathroom mirror, straightened my shirt like I was in some rom-com. But she texted 20 minutes before I was supposed to see her. Asterisk, something came up. Can we do it at my place instead? I'll cook. Asterisk, I hesitated. I'd never gone to a first date's house before. It felt risky, like stepping onto thin ice. But she sent a photo of her kitchen, white cabinets, copper pans hanging from a rack, a bowl of lemons on the counter. It looked like something from a magazine. And she added a selfie, smiling in a gray sweater, her dark hair falling over one shoulder. Please, she wrote. I made tiramisu. I caved. Drove across town as the sun dipped below the rooftops, the sky turning that deep purple that comes right before night. Her building was an old converted warehouse, brick with ivy crawling up the sides, tucked between a shuttered laundromat and a boarded-up pawn shop. The streetlights flickered like they were on their last legs. I parked, grabbed the cheap bottle of wine I'd brought, and walked up the cracked concrete path to the front door. She answered before I could knock. Smelled like vanilla and something else, earthy, like wet soil after rain. She hugged me like we'd been dating for months, her arms tight around my waist, her cheek cold against my neck. I laughed it off, handed her the wine, and followed her inside. The apartment was exactly like the photo, but colder. Not in temperature, there was heat, but in vibe. The lights were low, the kind that cast long shadows in the corners. Music played softly, something classical with a slow cello line that made my chest feel heavy. She took my coat, led me to the table. Candles flickered. The tiramisu was already on the plate, dusted with cocoa. We ate, talked, laughed. She asked about my job, my family, my fears. I told her I was scared of being forgotten, of dying alone in an apartment no one checked on for weeks. She nodded like she understood, like she'd felt it too. Then she asked if I wanted to see the rest of the place. The bedroom door was slightly ajar. She pushed it open. The bed was neatly made, black sheets, no photos on the nightstand. But on the wall opposite the bed was something that made my stomach drop. A floor-to-ceiling mirror, framed in dark wood, so big it looked like a window into another room. Except the reflection wasn't right. I saw myself, sure, and Elise standing beside me, but the room in the mirror was different. The bed was unmade, clothes scattered, a jacket hanging on the back of the door. My jacket, the one I was wearing tonight. But in the reflection, it was torn at the shoulder, stained with something dark. I blinked, stepped closer. The reflection moved with me, but slower, like a video buffering. Elise didn't seem to notice. She was staring at the mirror too, but not at us, at something behind us. I turned. Nothing. Just the hallway, dim and empty. "You okay?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. She smiled. "You tell me." I laughed, but it came out wrong, too loud. We left the room, went back to the kitchen. She poured more wine. I didn't remember finishing the first glass. Time got weird after that. Conversations looped. She'd asked the same question twice, word for word. The music never changed. The candles burned low but didn't flicker. I checked my phone. No signal, no time display. Just a black screen that wouldn't turn on. I said I should go. She didn't argue. Just nodded, walked me to the door. Outside, the street was foggy, the air thick and silent. No cars, no footsteps, no distant sirens. I turned to say goodbye, but she was already closing the door. Through the glass, she waved, smiled. I drove home, windows down, trying to clear my head. The city felt off, like everyone else was in on a joke I didn't get. I got inside, stripped off my clothes, stood in the shower until the water ran cold. When I got out, I caught my reflection in the mirror. My hair was damp, face tired. Normal. But then I blinked, and in the glass, just for a second, I saw the bedroom again. The unmade bed, the torn jacket, and me, lying on the floor, eyes open, mouth slightly parted. Elise standing over me, wiping her hands on a towel. I stepped back, heart slamming. The reflection went back to normal. Just me. Just the bathroom. I told myself it was stress, lack of sleep, too much wine. But the next morning, my jacket was on the floor of my closet. The shoulder was torn. There was a stain near the collar. I sniffed it. Iron. Old blood. I texted Elise. No reply. I drove back to her building. The laundromat was open now, music blaring. The pawn shop had a new sign. I went to her door and knocked. Nothing. The manager downstairs said no one by that name lived there. Said the unit had been empty for months. Rats, water damage. Condemned. I didn't believe him. I came back every night for a week. Always dark. Always silent. Then, last Tuesday, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A photo. Me sleeping in my bed. Taken recently. The caption, "You left your keys here." I didn't respond. But tonight, I heard something in the hallway. A soft knock. Then the sound of someone humming. That same cello song from her apartment. I'm sitting here now, lights off, listening. My jacket is on the chair. The tear is bigger now. The stain spread. And the mirror in my bedroom? It's not reflecting the room anymore. It's showing hers. I didn't believe in love at first sight until I saw her sitting alone at that little coffee shop near the old train bridge. Rain was coming down hard that afternoon, the kind that makes everything outside look blurry, like the world's been smudged. I ducked in, soaked, and there she was, dark hair stuck to her neck, reading a book with no cover, just plain brown paper wrapped around it. She looked up, smiled like she already knew me, and I swear something in my chest clicked. Not the cheesy kind from movies. It felt heavier, like a door closing behind me with no key. We started talking. Not forced, not awkward, just easy. She liked old horror movies, the ones with bad effects and shaky cameras. Said they felt more real because you could see the effort. I told her I liked taking pictures of abandoned places. She tilted her head and said, "You ever been out to the Holloway place?" I hadn't. She said it like she was offering a secret. I took it. We met up every Thursday after that. Same coffee shop. Same corner table. She always wore long sleeves, even when it got warm. Always drank black tea with 1 sugar, stirred exactly 7 times. Never left a ring on the table. Never checked her phone. It was weird, but not in a bad way. Just different. And I like different. After a few weeks, she finally said, "You want to see it? The Holloway place?" I said, "Yeah, of course." She drove. I didn't even know she had a car until that night. Some old sedan, quiet, barely made a sound on the wet road. We didn't talk much. Just music, low, crackly jazz from a tape that kept eating itself. She'd reach over and pull it out, rewind with her finger, pop it back in. Over and over. It made me sleepy. The trees got thicker. Roads turned to gravel. Then dirt. Then nothing. We parked at the edge of a field. Tall grass, swaying like something was moving through it. She turned off the engine. Looked at me. "You ready?" The house sat in the middle of the clearing, tilted like it was tired. Windows boarded. Roof caved in one side. Paint peeled like dead skin. But it wasn't scary. Not yet. Just sad. Forgotten. She grabbed my hand, cold, but I didn't pull away. And we walked through the front door, which wasn't locked. Just hanging open, like it had been waiting. Inside smelled like wet paper and something sweet underneath. Rot maybe. Or old fruit. She led me through the rooms, pointing out things like a tour guide. This was the kitchen. This is where they found the dog. I didn't ask what she meant. Didn't want to break the mood. We went upstairs. Floorboards groaned but held. She stopped in front of a door at the end of the hall. "This one's mine," she said. Then opened it. The room was clean. Too clean. Bed made. Curtains drawn. Lamp on. A single photo on the nightstand. Her younger, standing in front of this same house, smiling. I picked it up. The glass was warm. She didn't say anything. Just watched me. I put it down. That's when I noticed the calendar on the wall. Same date. Over and over. Every month. Every year. Written in pencil. The same day circled. The day before yesterday. My head started to feel light. Like the air was thinner. I turned to her. "How long have you lived here?" She smiled. Not the same one from the coffee shop. This one didn't reach her eyes. "I never left," she said. Then walked past me and sat on the bed. Patted the spot beside her. "Come sit." I did. The mattress didn't dip. Felt like sitting on concrete. She told me the story then. Quiet, like she was telling a dream. The Holloways lived here in the 70s. Family of 4. Father worked at the plant. Mother taught piano. 2 kids. 1 girl. She died. Car accident on the road out back. They never moved out. Couldn't. Father hung himself in the garage. Mother stopped speaking. Boy ran off. House stayed empty for years. Then people started seeing her. The girl. Sitting in the window. Walking the halls. Some said she wasn't dead. That she never left. That she just stayed. I asked if she believed it. She looked at me like I was missing something obvious. "I am her," she said. I laughed. Nervous. The kind you do when someone says something crazy, but you don't want to hurt their feelings. She didn't laugh. Just stared. Then stood up, walked to the closet, opened it. Inside wasn't clothes. It was photos. Hundreds of them. All of me. Me walking to class. Me buying coffee. Me sleeping, window open. Me looking at my phone. Me staring at the ceiling. Me brushing my teeth. All taken from outside. All dated over the last 3 months. I stood up fast. My leg hit the nightstand. The photo fell. Glass cracked. I looked down. The girl in the picture wasn't her. Not really. Same face, but the eyes were wrong. Darker. And the house behind her. It wasn't falling apart. It was new. Fresh paint. Green grass. Sun in the sky. She said, "I've been watching you since the first time you came through here with your camera. You didn't see me, but I saw you. You took a picture of the porch. I was in it. Just a shadow. But you saw me later, didn't you? When you looked at the photo. That's why you came back to the coffee shop that day. That's why you sat in the same spot. You were looking for me." I backed toward the door. My heart was slamming. Not scared of her. Scared of what was real. The calendar. The photos. The way the air felt thick, like syrup. The way the house didn't make noise when the wind hit it. No creak. No whistle. Just silence. She followed. Not fast. Just steady. "I've been alone a long time," she said. "But you're different. You see things. You notice. You came back. That means something. I ran. Down the stairs. Through the front door. Grass slapped my legs. I didn't look back. Car was gone. My phone, no signal. Nothing. Just trees. I walked. Hours. No road. No lights. Just the path we came in on, but it wasn't there. Just forest. I stopped. Turned around. The house was behind me. Same as before. But the door was open. Light in the upstairs window. And her, standing there. Watching. Not moving. Just there. I don't know how long I stood. Cold. Tired. Empty. Then my phone buzzed. One message. From my number. Sent to myself. It said, "You're back. I knew you would be." I looked up. She was at the edge of the field. Smiling. Holding my camera. She waved. Not friendly. Not mean. Just sure. I walked toward her. Not because I wanted to, but because I already had. Every choice I thought I made. Going to that coffee shop. Saying yes to Holloway. Holding her hand. It wasn't mine. It was hers. And the worst part? I didn't care. It felt right. Like coming home after being lost for years. She handed me the camera. I opened it. Last photo was of me, standing in the field, looking at the house. Taken from behind. Date stamp said tomorrow. She said, "Now you see it too, don't you?" I nodded. She took my hand. Led me back inside. Door closed on its own. No sound. No echo. Just quiet. Now I sit in the room. Calendar on the wall. Same date. I've been rewriting it every morning. Not because I have to. Because I want to. Downstairs, the jazz tape plays. Rewinds itself. Starts again. And outside, the grass moves. Like something's walking through. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy who downloads a dating app out of sheer boredom on a Tuesday night. But there I was, scrolling past faces that all looked the same. Cropped selfies in front of mirrors. Gym pics with that one flexed arm. Dudes holding fish they probably didn't catch. Then her profile popped up, and it was like someone turned the lights down in the room. Her name was Elise. Dark hair, eyes like storm clouds, and a smile that didn't quite reach them. She wasn't smiling at the camera. She was smiling at something just off to the side, like she was in the middle of a private joke. It made me lean in closer to the screen. Her bio was short. Asterisk, I like quiet places. Long walks where you can hear your thoughts. And I've never lied to anyone I cared about. Asterisk, that last line stuck. Felt weirdly heavy for a dating profile. But something about her pulled at me. Like I already knew her from somewhere I couldn't place. We started texting. Not the usual small talk about jobs or weekend plans. She asked what I dreamed about. Not like, what are your life goals? But what I actually saw when I slept. I told her I kept having this one dream where I'm standing in an empty house. The walls are white, no furniture, and there's a radio playing a song I don't recognize. She said she had the same dream once. That freaked me out a little, but in the way that makes your skin prickle in a good way. Like you're close to something real. After a week of messages that felt more like conversations you'd have with someone you've known for years, she suggested we meet. Not a bar or a coffee shop. Those are too loud, she said. Too many people pretending. Instead, she picked this old botanical conservatory on the edge of the city. Closed to the public after 8, but she knew someone who could get us in after hours. I liked that she had access to secret places. Made her feel mysterious. Like she lived in a world just beneath the surface of mine. The place was surrounded by iron gates covered in ivy, the glass roof fogged with age. When I got there, she was already waiting, standing under a street lamp with her hands tucked into the pockets of a long coat. She looked exactly like her photos, but more. Her presence hit me like a gust of cold air, sharp, sudden, impossible to ignore. She smiled when she saw me, but again, it didn't quite touch her eyes. We walked in silence through the winding paths between glass enclosures filled with tropical plants, their leaves slick with moisture. The air was thick and warm, smelling of damp soil and something else, something faintly sweet, like rotting fruit. The only light came from dim emergency bulbs spaced far apart, casting long shadows that stretched and twisted as we moved. She led the way, never looking back, like she knew I'd follow. At one point, she stopped in front of a small greenhouse tucked in the back corner. Inside, there were no plants, just a single wooden chair facing the glass wall. She opened the door and stepped in, then turned to me and said, "Sit." I hesitated, but not because I was scared. More like my body remembered something my brain hadn't caught up to. Like walking into a room you've been in before, but can't remember when. I sat. She stayed standing, her back to the glass, hands still in her pockets. That's when the silence got louder. Not just quiet, asterisk loud asterisk with absence. No hum of electricity, no distant traffic, not even the rustle of leaves. Just the slow drip of water from a broken pipe somewhere in the dark. I tried to focus on her face, but the shadows kept shifting, making her features blur and reform. I blinked, and for a second, her eyes looked completely black. Then she started talking. Not to me. More like to the room. She said she'd been waiting for someone like me for a long time. Someone who dreams the same dreams. Someone who hears the same radio. She said she wasn't the first to sit in that chair. That others had come before me. That they all said yes when she asked them to stay. My chest tightened. Not fear, not yet. More like confusion, like I'd stepped into the middle of a movie without seeing the first half. I asked her what she meant, but she just tilted her head, like I was speaking a language she used to know. She moved closer, slow, and reached into her coat. I thought she was going to pull out a phone, or maybe a knife, but it was a small cassette player, old, silver, the kind from the 80s. She pressed play, and a soft melody started, slow and warped, like it had been recorded over and over. It was the song from my dream. Exactly the same. I felt my breath catch. How could she have that? She knelt in front of me, still holding the player, and looked up. Her eyes were normal again, almost sad. She said, "You don't remember me, do you?" And then it hit me. Not a memory, a knowing. Like a file in my brain had been unlocked. I had seen her before, years ago, in a house with white walls. No furniture, just that radio, playing that same song. I was sitting in a chair then too, and she was kneeling, just like this, asking me to stay. I said no. I ran, but I didn't leave. Not really. I just forgot. And she waited, for years, checking profiles, sending messages, looking for the one person who'd heard the song and remembered enough to come back. She didn't want a date. She wanted me to take the chair again, permanently. I tried to stand, but my legs wouldn't move. Not because they were frozen, because I didn't want to. The song was getting clearer. The room felt warmer. The white walls were forming around me again, just beyond the glass. She reached up and touched my face, her fingers cold. I should have pulled away. I should have screamed. But I didn't, because part of me had never left. And part of me knew, deep down, that I was never supposed to. The last thing I remember is the music fading, and her voice soft, saying, "You're home." Now I sit in the chair. The conservatory is gone. The plants, the glass, the city, all gone. Just white walls. The radio plays. I don't know how long I've been here. I don't know if I'm alive. But I know she'll be back. She always comes back. And next time, when she asks me to stay, I won't hesitate. I'll say yes before she even asks. I came here to meet someone. Her name's Lana. We matched on this dating app a few weeks ago, and honestly, she was the first girl in a long time who didn't seem like she was just waiting to ghost me after 2 dates. She had this quiet energy in her messages, short, thoughtful, like she weighed every word before sending it. Not too eager, not too cold, just real. We texted for days, then started calling at night. Her voice was low, smooth, like she was always half asleep or trying not to wake someone. I liked that. Felt intimate. After 2 weeks, she finally agreed to meet. No big dinner, no crowded bar. Just come to my place. I'll make tea. Simple. Private. Felt special, like she trusted me. And now I'm here, stalling. Not because I'm scared. Well, not exactly. But because the building looks like it's been abandoned for years. Paint peeling off the walls in long, jagged strips. Windows cracked or boarded up. The front door hangs slightly ajar, swaying with the wind like it's been kicked open and never fixed. But her car's here. A small, silver hatchback parked near the back entrance, license plate half covered in mud. I check my phone again. One message from her. Top floor. Last door on the right. Don't knock. Just come in. I kill the engine and step out. The air's thick, almost hard to breathe. My shoes sink slightly into the wet grass as I walk toward the entrance. The door creaks when I push it open, and the inside is worse than the outside. Flickering fluorescent lights buzz overhead, and the hallway smells like mildew and something burnt. The carpet's stained and worn down to the padding in spots. I take the stairs because the elevator looks like it hasn't worked since the 90s. Each step groans under my weight, and by the time I reach the top floor, my heart's pounding. Not from the climb, but from the silence. No TVs, no voices, no music. Just me and the drip of a leak somewhere down the hall. Her door is at the end, just like she said. No name, no welcome mat, just a rusted number 417 barely hanging on. I turn the knob slowly. It's unlocked. The apartment is dark, but there's a faint glow coming from the back, probably the kitchen. I step inside and close the door behind me. The air here is warmer, drier. Smells like cinnamon and old books. There's furniture, but it's all pushed to the walls like the room's been cleared for something. A single armchair faces the center, where a small table holds 2 mugs and a tea set. One mug steaming. I wait. Nothing. No footsteps, no voice calling out. I walk further in, glancing toward the kitchen. The light's on, but no one's there. The stove's off. Sink's empty. I check the bathroom, clean and used. Bedroom door's closed. I stand in front of it for a solid minute, then turn the knob. The room is empty. Bed made. No clothes, no personal stuff. Just a mirror on the wall opposite the door. And in that mirror, for a split second, I swear I see her standing behind me in the hallway. Long dark hair, white nightgown. But when I spin around, there's nothing. Just the empty living room, the tea still steaming. I go back to the table and sit in the chair. Maybe she's playing a game. Maybe this is her thing, mystery, suspense. I pick up the mug. It's warm. Chamomile, maybe, with a hint of honey. I take a sip. Tastes normal. Bitter, then sweet. I set it down and pull out my phone. No signal. I try texting her anyway. Nothing sends. I look up and she's sitting across from me. I nearly jump out of my skin. She wasn't there a second ago. Just appeared. Same dark hair, pale skin. That soft look in her eyes like she's seeing through you. She smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. You came, she says. Her voice is exactly like on the phone, low, calm. I try to speak, but my throat feels tight. I nod instead. She picks up her mug and sips. I wasn't sure you would. Most don't. That hits me wrong. Most. I manage. She doesn't answer. Just stares at me over the rim of the cup. I feel it then, the warmth spreading through my chest, down into my arms. My fingers tingle. My vision blurs at the edges. I try to stand, but my legs won't move. I'm stuck, like I'm sinking into the chair. You're not the first, she says, still calm, like we're talking about the weather. There was a guy last year, and one before that. They all came. They all sat right where you are, drank the tea, and then they stayed. I want to scream, but my mouth won't open. My body's not mine anymore. I can only watch as she gets up, walks around the table, and kneels in front of me. She takes my hand. It feels cold. It's not your fault, she whispers. You just wanted to be seen, to matter. That's why you came. That's why they came. Tears burn in my eyes, but I can't wipe them. She stands, walks to the mirror, and touches the glass. It ripples like water. Behind her reflection, I see them, figures, shadowy but clear enough. A man in a hoodie, a guy in a button-up shirt, all sitting frozen, eyes wide. And now, slowly, my own reflection starts to fade from the mirror, replaced by another version of me. Still, hollow, trapped. She turns back, smiles again. Don't worry. You'll get used to it. The quiet, the waiting. Someone else will come soon. They always do. I can't move. Can't speak. But I'm aware. So aware. And I realize she's not the one who's been drinking the tea. She's the one who's been serving it. And now I'm part of the collection. Just another face in the glass, waiting for the next guy stupid enough to show up, looking for connection, for warmth, for love. The tea's still warm on the table. The chair across from me is empty, ready for the next one. Swiping left on girls who looked like they'd never left their suburbs, right on the ones who seemed like they might actually say yes to grabbing a drink without making it a whole thing. Then I saw her. Maya, 24, works in archives at the city library, likes old movies, rainy nights, and making soup from scratch. Her profile picture wasn't one of those overly filtered selfies with duck lips or a gym mirror shot. It was her standing in front of a bookshelf, arms crossed, wearing a faded band tee I didn't recognize, smiling like she knew a secret. Her eyes were dark, calm, like the surface of a lake you're not sure how deep it goes. We matched, exchanged a few messages. Nothing too heavy. She asked if I liked black and white films. I lied and said yeah, mostly to keep the conversation going. She sent back a gif of Cary Grant raising an eyebrow. I laughed out loud in the break room, which made Dave from loading give me that look like I'd finally lost it. We set up a date for Thursday night. No big dinner, no crowded bar. She suggested a walk through Holloway Park after dark, said it was peaceful then, that the city noise faded and you could actually hear the trees. Sounded weird, but also kind of cool. Different. I liked that. The weather turned the night of the date. Not raining, but that thick, wet kind of cold that gets into your bones. I wore my dad's old coat, the one with the scratchy wool lining, and drove across town, windows down even though it was freezing, just to feel something. The park was on the edge of the old industrial district, mostly trees, a few winding paths, a creek that smelled like wet stone. There were no streetlights deep in, just the orange glow from the distant road bleeding through the branches. I parked at the edge of the lot, saw her standing by the trailhead, hands in her pockets, hair pulled back. She looked exactly like her picture, maybe even better, calmer in person, like she wasn't trying to impress anyone. We started walking. At first, it was easy. She talked about silent films, how people used to communicate with their eyes back then, how you could tell everything from a glance. I nodded, pretending I got it, but honestly, I was just watching her hands move when she spoke, the way her breath curled in the air. The path curved, the trees got thicker, and the sound of the city dropped off like someone had flipped a switch. It got quiet, not peaceful quiet, the kind where your ears start ringing if you focus too hard. She stopped suddenly, turned to me, and said she wanted to show me something. Not on the path. Off. Through the trees. I hesitated. My phone had one bar. No signal. But she was already stepping over roots, moving with this sureness like she'd done it 100 times. I followed. The ground got uneven. Branches grabbed at my sleeves. The air smelled like damp earth and something else, something sour underneath, like old milk left in a fridge. We reached a clearing. In the middle stood a small, crumbling stone structure. Looked like an old pump house, or maybe a forgotten well cover. Moss crawled up the sides. The top was sealed with a heavy iron lid, bolted shut. Maya walked right up to it, placed her palm flat on the surface. I stood back, arms crossed, teeth starting to chatter. She didn't look cold at all. She told me about it. Said the park used to be a private estate in the 1800s. The family had a daughter, Eliza, who disappeared one winter night. No body. No signs of struggle. Just gone. Locals said she'd been hearing voices from the well, that she started talking to someone no one else could hear. The family sealed it shut after she vanished. People avoided the area for years. Then the city bought the land, turned it into a park, but no one ever removed the well. Too much trouble, they said. Too deep. I laughed, but it came out shaky. Ghost stories. I didn't believe in that stuff. But the way she said it, so calm, like she was reading from a library file, made my skin feel tight. She turned to me and said, "You don't believe me, do you?" I said I didn't, but my voice didn't sound like mine. She smiled, not unkindly. Then she reached into her coat and pulled out a small key. Rusty, old. She knelt and started working at the bolts on the lid. I stepped forward, told her to stop, that we should go. She didn't answer, just kept turning the key, one bolt at a time. The metal groaned. The sound echoed weird, like it wasn't just coming from the lid, but from under it too. Something shifted in the silence. A breath? A whisper? I couldn't tell. The last bolt gave. She pushed the lid open with both hands. It scraped back slowly, revealing a black hole. Nothing but dark. I took another step back. My heart was slamming against my ribs. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. She leaned over the edge, peered down, and said, "She's still here." I didn't hear anything at first. Then, faintly, a voice. Soft. Female. Singing. A lullaby. Slow. Muffled, like it was coming from miles underground. I recognized the tune. My mom used to sing it when I was a kid. I never told anyone that. Not even on my profile. Maya turned to me, her eyes reflecting the dim light. "She likes you," she said. "She says you sound familiar." I backed away, tripped over a root, fell hard. My phone flew from my pocket, screen cracking as it hit a rock. I scrambled for it, but the light was gone. When I looked up, Maya was still at the well, but her posture had changed. Stiffer, her head tilted to one side, like she was listening. Then she turned, slowly, and looked at me. Her mouth opened, but the voice that came out wasn't hers. It was my mom's. It said, "You left me alone. You were the only one who knew the song." I froze. My breath stopped. That wasn't possible. My mom died when I was 7. Car accident. I was in the back seat. I remember the song. I remember her singing it right before the crash. I never told anyone. Not my dad, not my therapist. Not even in my deepest, darkest thoughts. The thing wearing Maya's face stepped toward me. Voice soft, sweet wrong. "You stop singing. You let me go alone." I crawled backward, hands sinking into wet leaves, my chest burning. I got to my feet and ran. Branches whipped my face. I didn't look back. I ran until I hit the parking lot, fumbled with my keys, started the car, peeled out, tires spitting gravel. I didn't stop until I was 3 blocks away, pulled over, and vomited into a ditch. I called the cops the next day, told them about the well, about Maya, about the voice. They checked the park, found the structure. The lid was sealed, bolts tight, no sign of tampering, no footprints, no Maya in the system, no employee at the library by that name. Her profile was gone from the app, like she never existed. I haven't gone back, haven't dated, haven't slept through the night. Sometimes, when it's really quiet, I hear it, faint, from the vents, from the walls, from inside my own head. It sings the lullaby, and I know, deep down, I should sing back. It was one of those weirdly warm November afternoons, sun hanging low and golden, the kind that makes everything feel like it's wrapped in honey. She was sitting by the window, one hand wrapped around a chipped blue mug, the other flipping through a book with pages so worn they looked like they might fall apart. Her hair was this dark brown that caught the light in a way that made it look almost red, and she kept tucking it behind her ear every few seconds like it had a mind of its own. I don't know how long I stood there staring, probably too long, but something about her felt familiar, like I'd seen her in a dream I couldn't quite remember. I sat down at the table across from hers, pretending to check my phone, stealing glances when she wasn't looking. She didn't notice me until I accidentally knocked over my water glass, trying to reach for my wallet. Water spilled everywhere, and I fumbled like an idiot trying to clean it up with napkins. That's when she looked up, smiled, and said, "Rough day." Her voice was calm, smooth, like she already knew me. I mumbled something stupid about being clumsy, and she just laughed. Not the kind of laugh that mocks you, but the kind that makes you feel like you're part of the joke. We started talking. At first it was just small stuff, coffee, the weather, the book she was reading, but then it shifted. She asked me if I ever felt like certain places felt heavier than others, like some spots on Earth just weighed more. I told her I didn't know what that meant, but then she said she could feel it in old houses, in stairwells, in empty parking garages at night. She said it wasn't ghosts, not exactly. It was memory, the way pain sticks to places like dust. I thought she was weird, but in a cool way. Not creepy, just deep. We exchanged numbers, and by the end of the week, we were texting every day. She had this way of saying things that made my skin prickle, not in a bad way, but like my body was reacting before my brain could catch up. She'd send me photos of random things: a cracked sidewalk, a flickering streetlight, the back of someone's head on the subway, and write one sentence under it. This is where it started, or I saw her again today. I never knew who her was, but I didn't ask. I didn't want to ruin the mystery. Our first real date was at this abandoned mini-golf place on the edge of town. It had been closed for years, weeds growing through the fake volcanoes and windmills, but she said it was beautiful at night. We climbed over the chain-link fence, laughing like kids, and she led me through the course with a flashlight. The beam cut through the dark in shaky lines, illuminating plastic dinosaurs with chipped paint and rusted animatronics frozen mid-motion. She kept stopping, staring at certain holes like they meant something. At hole 7, the one with the clown mouth you had to shoot the ball through, she got quiet. She ran her fingers over the chipped red paint around the clown's lips and whispered, "This is where I lost her." I didn't know what to say. I thought maybe she meant a friend, a sister, someone from her past. I didn't push. Instead, I took her hand. Her skin was cold, even though the night wasn't. We sat on the edge of the pirate ship hole, and she told me about how she used to come here as a kid with her twin. They'd play for hours, racing each other through the course, hiding in the fake caves. Then one night, when they were 12, she said her sister vanished right here. Just gone. No note, no fight, no signs. The police searched for weeks. Nothing. She said she came back every year on the anniversary. Like if she stood in the same spot long enough, maybe something would click. I believed her. Not because it made sense, but because the way she said it, so flat, so empty, felt true. I held her tighter, told her I was sorry. She didn't cry, just nodded and said, "Thanks. Most people think I'm making it up." After that, we started spending more time together. She'd show up at my apartment late at night, sometimes without texting first. I'd hear a knock, open the door, and there she'd be, wearing the same faded denim jacket, her eyes a little too wide, like she'd been running. She never stayed long, just long enough to talk about her sister, about the places she thought she'd seen her, gas stations, laundromats, the back row of movie theaters. She started bringing photos, old ones, black and white, of two little girls holding hands, wearing matching dresses. They looked identical, but in every photo, one of them was slightly behind the other, like she was hiding. Then one night, she didn't leave. I woke up and she was sitting on my couch, fully dressed, staring at the wall. I asked if she was okay. She didn't answer, just turned her head slowly and said, "She's here." I laughed, thinking she meant her sister, like she'd seen her outside or something. But then she stood up, walked to my bedroom mirror, and stared at her reflection. "She's been here the whole time," she said. I thought I was looking for her, but she was looking for me. I tried to calm her down, told her it was probably exhaustion, stress. But she turned to me with this look blank, like all the life had been drained out, and said, "I'm not the twin. I'm the one who stayed." That's when it hit me. The photos. The way she always stood slightly behind in every picture. The way she never talked about her childhood before the disappearance. The way she'd touch her face sometimes, like she was checking if it was real. I backed away slowly, my heart slamming against my ribs. She didn't move, just kept staring at me through the mirror, like I wasn't really there. "She took my place," she said. "That night at minigolf, I went into the clown mouth to hide. She waited until I fell asleep. Then she came out and never let me back in. I've been trying to get back ever since." I didn't know what to do. Call the cops? A doctor? She wasn't violent, just broken. I told her she should rest, that I'd make her tea. But as I turned toward the kitchen, I caught a glimpse of the mirror. And for a second, just a flicker, I saw two reflections. One was her. The other was a girl who looked just like her, but younger, with dirt on her cheeks and fear in her eyes. She was mouthing something. I couldn't hear it, but I knew what it was. "Help me." I froze, turned back. The mirror showed only one person, her, but her expression had changed. Softer, sad, like she knew I'd seen it too. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the corner of the room, watching her breathe, wondering which one was real. In the morning, she was gone. No note, no trace, just the smell of old paper and something faintly sour, like wet leaves. I thought it was over. But yesterday, I found a photo in my jacket pocket, one I'd never seen before. It was me, asleep on the couch, and standing over me was her, or someone who looked like her. But in the reflection of the TV screen behind us, I could see the other girl, the real one, and she was smiling. I don't know who's wearing her now. I don't know if I'm safe. All I know is the mirror in my bathroom fogs up when no one's in the shower. And sometimes, in the corner of my eye, I see her, just standing there, waiting. So there I was, sitting across from this girl named Leah at this little Italian place, tucked behind the old movie theater downtown. The kind of spot you'd only find if you were either lost or trying real hard to hide. Dim lights, red tablecloths with candle wax dripping like dried blood, and the smell of garlic thick enough to taste in the back of your throat. I'd met her on this dating app. Swiped right, because her smile looked real, not the kind where you can tell they're posing in front of a mirror, holding their breath. She wore a black sweater that hugged her arms just right, and her hair fell in these soft waves, like she didn't even try, but still ended up perfect. I remember thinking, this one's different. Like, actually different. We talked for 2 hours, and it didn't feel like one of those forced things, where you're digging for topics, like you're digging a grave. She laughed at my dumb jokes, asked about my dog, told me she liked thunderstorms and horror movies, especially the old ones, where you actually had to wait for the scare. I told her I used to sleep with the closet light on until I was like 15. She didn't make fun of me. Instead, she just nodded and said, I get that. Some things feel closer in the dark. After dinner, she suggested we take a walk through the park nearby. Said it was quieter there, that you could hear the crickets and the occasional splash from the fountain even though the city was just a few blocks over. I didn't think much of it. It was a nice night, warm for October. Stars poking through the clouds like they were watching us. The park was mostly empty except for a few people jogging or walking dogs. We stayed on the paved path, passing under these old iron lampposts that buzzed when they turned on. Then she veered off, just stepped over the curb like it was nothing, and started walking across the grass toward the trees. I hesitated, but followed. Didn't want to seem weird, you know? The grass was damp, soaking the bottom of my sneakers, and the air changed, cooler, heavier, like walking into a basement. She didn't talk much after that. Just walked, hands in her pockets, eyes forward. I told a joke about squirrels being the real mafia of parks. She didn't laugh, didn't even look at me. We ended up near this little wooden bridge over a dried-up creek bed. The wood was cracked, some planks missing, and the railing sagged like it hadn't been touched in years. She stopped in the middle and looked down, like she was studying the dirt below. I stood behind her, shifting my weight, starting to feel that slow crawl in my gut, the kind that says something's off, but you can't figure out what. Then she turned and looked at me, not smiling, not frowning, just looking, like she was seeing something behind my face. You ever have that moment where you realize someone knows something about you that you've never told anyone? Not even your best friend. That's what it felt like. She knew, but I didn't know what. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, silver key. Not the kind you use for doors. Older, thinner, like something from a jewelry box or an old desk. She held it out to me, palm open. Take it, she said. You'll need it. I didn't want to. My fingers felt stiff, like they weren't mine. But I reached out anyway. The second my skin touched the metal, a jolt went up my arm. Not electric, but cold, like dipping your hand in river water in winter. I pulled back, but the key was already in my hand. It felt heavier than it should have. She smiled then. Not nice, not warm, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. You've been here before, she said. You just don't remember. I laughed. A nervous one, the kind you make when you're trying to pretend everything's fine. But my chest was tight. My breath came too fast. I don't know what you're talking about, I said. This is the first time I've been to this park. She tilted her head, like I was a puzzle she'd already solved. You came here with your brother, she said. When you were 7, he pushed you off the bridge. You hit your head. They said you were unconscious for 3 days. I stared at her. My brother? My brother's never even been to this city. We grew up 3 states away. I opened my mouth to say that, but then something flickered. A flash. A boy's face. Laughing. The sky spinning. The crack of something breaking. I shook my head. It was gone. You're messing with me, I said. This isn't funny. She didn't answer. Just stepped back, then turned and walked away, disappearing into the trees like she'd never been there at all. I stood there, holding the key, heart slamming against my ribs. I looked down at the creek bed. Nothing. Just dirt and dead leaves. I turned and walked back the way we came, fast, not looking behind me. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Not the date, not the weirdness, just the key. I kept it in my pocket, running my thumb over the ridges. That night, I dreamt of water. Dark, slow-moving, with something under the surface. I woke up drenched in sweat, the key clutched in my fist. 3 days later, I found a box in my closet. I swear I've never seen it before. Small, wooden, covered in dust. No label. No name. But when I opened it, inside was a stack of photos. All of me. As a kid. But not the ones my mom has. These were different. One of me standing on that bridge. Another of me lying on a hospital bed, bandaged, eyes closed. And one of a boy, my brother, holding the same key, smiling at the camera like he'd won something. I called my mom that night. Asked about the accident. She went quiet for a long time. I didn't want to tell you. She said, you were so young. We moved after that. Your brother, he changed after what he did. We didn't talk about it. We buried it. But he never came here, I said. We didn't even know this place existed. She paused. Then softly, that's not true. We used to visit your aunt every summer. You played in that park all the time. I hung up, sat on the floor, back against the bed, staring at the key. It didn't make sense. But the photos did. The dream did. The way Leah looked at me like she'd been waiting. I drove back to the park that night. No plan. Just needed to see it. The bridge. The creek. The spot where it happened. It was darker this time. No joggers. No dogs. Just the hum of the city in the distance, and the wind moving through the trees. I stepped onto the bridge, the wood groaning under my weight. Halfway across, I stopped. And then I saw her. Leah. Standing on the bank, just watching. Same sweater. Same hair. Same empty eyes. I didn't move. Couldn't. She raised her hand and pointed. Not at me, but behind me. I turned. There, in the creek bed, half buried in dirt, was a small metal door. Rusty. Old. With a keyhole. I knew it was for the key. My legs moved on their own. I stepped off the bridge, walked down the bank, knelt in the dirt. The key fit perfectly. I turned it. The door opened with a slow, wet creak, like something breathing. Inside wasn't a box. Wasn't a safe. It was a hole. Deep. Dark. And at the bottom, something moved. A hand reached up. Small. Pale. Covered in mud. And it was mine. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy who ends up on one of those true crime podcasts, you know? Like those stories where someone says, he seemed so normal, and you're sitting there eating cereal, thinking, man, that'll never be me. But here I am, typing this, because if something happens to me, at least someone will know how it started. Not with a bang. Not with blood. It started with a profile picture. Her name was Lila. We matched on one of those dating apps everyone pretends not to use, but secretly swipes through during bathroom breaks. Her photo was simple, just her face half lit by what looked like candlelight, eyes dark but warm, like she was smiling at a secret only she knew. No filters, no duck face, no gym selfies. Just real. And that's what got me. I've seen enough stage shots to know when someone's trying too hard. She wasn't. We texted for a week. Nothing crazy, just easy back and forth. She liked old horror movies, the kind with no jump scares, but that crawl under your skin. She hated cilantro, loved thunderstorms, and once got lost in a corn maze for 3 hours. I told her about my job at the tech repair shop, how I fix broken phones for minimum wage and dream of building my own app someday. She said that sounded honest. Most people don't like honesty, she said. They just like the idea of it. Our first date was at this tiny diner off Route 9, the kind with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tastes like burnt socks. But the pie was good. She showed up in a navy sweater, hair down, and that same quiet smile. We talked for 4 hours. No awkward silences, no fake laughs. It felt like we'd known each other longer. When she leaned in slightly while I was talking about my dog, Max, I thought, this could be it, the real thing. After that, we started seeing each other every few days. Nothing intense. A movie, a walk through the park, late-night drives with the windows down. She didn't text constantly, never demanded attention. It was refreshing. Most girls I've dated either treat you like a therapist or a trophy. Lila was different. She listened like she actually cared. Like my stupid opinions about pizza toppings or whether ghosts could use Wi-Fi mattered. But then the little things started. She never let me come inside her apartment. Always met downstairs, in the lobby, or outside under the flickering streetlight. Said her roommate was weird about guests. Fair enough. People have boundaries. I get it. But then I noticed she never answered calls. Only texts. And if I asked why, she'd say her phone was broken, or the battery died, or she was in a dead zone. Which, okay, could happen. But every time? Then there was the smell. Every time we hugged, there was this weird scent. Not bad, exactly. Like old books and something else. Damp, maybe? Like a basement that's been closed too long. I didn't say anything. Didn't want to sound weird. But it stuck with me. Clung to my jacket after we hung out. I washed it twice. Still caught a whiff. One night, we drove out to the old reservoir. It's this abandoned place on the edge of town, surrounded by trees, no lights for miles. She suggested it. Said she liked how quiet it was. No one ever goes there, she said. It's like the world stops. We sat on the hood of my car, looking at the water, black and still under the moonlight. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I put my arm around her. That's when I felt it. Her skin was cold. Not just came from outside cold. Like freezer cold. I didn't pull away. Just told myself it was the night air. Then she said, "Do you believe in second chances?" I laughed a little. Depends on the mistake. She didn't laugh. Just kept staring at the water. What if you did something terrible? But you didn't mean to. And you've been paying for it ever since. I didn't know what to say. So I said nothing. She turned to me then, eyes wide, almost pleading. Would you still want to know the person? I swallowed. If they were trying to be better, yeah, I think I would. She smiled. A real one. And for a second, I felt something click. Like maybe she was opening up, letting me in. But the next day, she ghosted me. No texts. No replies. Nothing. I waited a week. Then drove to her building. The lobby was dim, the carpet stained, the air thick with that same damp smell. I asked the super if she was home. He barely looked up from his phone. Lila. She doesn't live here. What do you mean? He shrugged. Ain't seen her in months. Lease expired. Apartment's empty. My stomach dropped. But I've been here. I've met her downstairs. He gave me this look, like I was crazy. You sure it was this building? I was. I remembered the cracked tile by the mailboxes, the flickering light, the smell. I went upstairs anyway. Knocked on her door. Nothing. Tried the handle. Unlocked. The apartment was empty. Just bare walls, dusty floors, a single light bulb swinging from the ceiling. No furniture. No signs anyone had lived there. But in the corner, on the floor, was a small stack of photos. I picked them up. They were all of me. Me leaving work. Me walking me at the diner, sitting across from her. Me sleeping, through my bedroom window. Some were old, months ago. One was from last week, the night at the reservoir. I was on the car hood, arm around her. But in the photo, she wasn't there. I dropped them like they burned. Back in my car, hands shaking. I pulled up her profile. Still active. Last seen online an hour ago. I messaged her. What the hell is going on? She replied instantly. You weren't supposed to go there. I typed back. Who are you? A pause. Then, you said you'd still want to know me, even if I did something bad. My breath caught. I never moved in, she wrote. I just waited. For you. You used to come here all the time. Before you changed your number. Before you stopped answering. None of this made sense. Then she sent one last message. You promised you'd come back. You said you were sorry. But you never came. So I stayed. In case you forgot the way. I stared at the screen. And then it hit me. Not her name. Not the apartment. The accident. 2 years ago. Rain. A car skidding. A body in the road. A girl. I stopped. Called 911. Waited. But by the time the ambulance came, she was gone. I gave my statement. They said it wasn't my fault. Black ice. No charges. I changed my number, moved towns, tried to forget. The girl's name was Lila. I never knew her last name. Never saw a photo. Just the news report. A local college student. Hit by a car while walking home. Driver stayed at the scene. No charges filed. I looked back at the messages. She was still online. I typed, I'm so sorry. She replied, I know, but you're here now. The phone buzzed again. A photo. My front door. Taken from outside. Then another. My bedroom. The window. Me, sitting in my car, face lit by the phone screen. And then one more. Me, asleep in bed last night, with her hand on my shoulder. I threw the phone in the back seat and started the engine. Drove home fast, heart slamming, eyes checking the rear view every 2 seconds. Locked the door behind me. Checked every room. Under the bed. In the closet. Nothing. I sat on the couch, breathing hard, trying to calm down. That's when I heard it. A soft tap on the window. Then a voice, right behind me. You didn't think I'd let you leave again, did you? It started with a notification. Not the usual kind. No flashy ad. No meme from my cousin. Nothing about my bank account being locked. Just a single line in the middle of my screen. You have one match. I hadn't even opened the app in weeks. Tinder, Bumble, Hinge. I'd cycled through them all like they were channels on an old TV. Flicking past hoping to find something real. But this one was different. The name was just initials, JM. No bio, no photos except one. A blurry shot of someone standing in front of a mirror, backlit by a single lamp. You could barely make out the face, just the shape of shoulders, the shadow of a jawline. It was weird, but not enough to swipe left. I matched. The message came through 5 minutes later. Hey, that's it. Just hey. I almost ignored it, but something about the simplicity of it made me reply. Hey yourself. Then, like magic, the photos started loading. One after another. Still blurry, but clear now. Same room, different angles. Always that dim yellow light. Always the person just standing there. No smiling. No posing. Just watching. I should have uninstalled. I know that now. But instead, I kept scrolling. One photo showed a hand resting on a windowsill. The fingers were long, the nails clean but pale, like they'd never seen sun. Another was a close-up of a neck, the skin smooth. A small mole just below the ear. It felt like I was looking through a keyhole into someone's life. But the more I looked, the less I understood what I was seeing. We started texting. Not about anything deep at first. Weather, music, favorite food, normal stuff. But there was a rhythm to it. Like he already knew the answers before I gave them. He'd say, "You hate cilantro, right?" And I'd say, "Yeah, tastes like soap." And he'd reply, "I knew it." Not in a creepy way. More like we were finishing each other's thoughts. It felt easy. Too easy. Still, I kept talking. I told him about my job at the coffee shop. How I hated the smell of burnt milk. How I sometimes stayed late just to clean the machines because it made me feel in control. He said he liked order too. Said he kept everything in his apartment exactly where it needed to be. No clutter, he wrote. No distractions. We agreed to meet. Not a fancy dinner. Not a bar. He suggested a park near the river. The one with the stone bridge and the benches that faced the water. Said it was quiet. Said it was safe. I wore jeans and a hoodie, my hair pulled back. Tried not to care too much. But I did. I checked my reflection 3 times before leaving. When I got there, he was already sitting on the same bench I'd seen in one of his photos. Same gray coat. Same stillness. I hesitated at the edge of the path. He didn't turn. Didn't wave. Just kept looking at the water like he'd been waiting for years. I sat down. He turned his head slowly. His eyes were light, almost colorless in the fading light. He smiled, but it didn't reach them. We talked. About books. About the way city lights reflect on water at night. About how most people don't notice the sound of their own breath until it's too quiet. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't electric. It was like we'd known each other in another life, and we're just picking up where we left off. When he suggested a walk, I said yes without thinking. We followed the path along the river, past the reeds, past the broken lamppost that flickered like a dying heartbeat. The air got colder. My breath came in little clouds. He didn't seem to feel it. His hand stayed in his pockets. At one point, he stopped and pointed at the water. "Look," he said. "See that ripple?" I squinted. There was a small circle spreading out from nowhere, like something had broken the surface and gone under. "Probably a fish," I said. He didn't answer, just kept staring. Then he turned and looked at me. "You ever feel like something's watching you when you're alone?" I laughed, but it came out wrong. Too loud, too fast. "All the time," I said, "especially in the shower." He didn't laugh, just nodded, like I'd confirmed something. We kept walking. The path narrowed. The trees leaned in. The lights from the city faded behind us. I checked my phone. No signal. I didn't say anything. Didn't want to break the mood. He started talking about his apartment. Said it was small. Said he liked it that way. "No echoes," he said. "No empty spaces where sound can hide." I asked what he meant. He didn't answer. Just kept walking. Then he stopped again. We were at a fork. One path led back to the main road. The other disappeared into thick brush, barely visible under layers of fallen leaves. "This way," he said. "Shortcut." I hesitated. My stomach tightened, but I followed. The branches scraped my arms. The ground was uneven. Roots twisted up like bones. He moved fast, sure of every step. I stumbled behind him, my breath coming quicker now. The air smelled different, wet earth, something metallic. My phone buzzed once, then died. When we came out of the trees, we were in a clearing. In the center stood a small cabin. No windows. One door. The wood was dark, almost black, like it had soaked up too much rain. He walked up to it, pulled a key from his pocket. The lock clicked. He opened the door. Inside, it was lit by a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. The walls were bare. The floor was clean. Too clean. Like it had been scrubbed every day. There was a table, a chair, a sink, and in the corner a mirror. The same mirror from his photos. He stepped inside. I stayed at the door. "Come in," he said. "I want to show you something." My legs didn't want to move. My heart was slamming against my ribs. But I walked in. He closed the door behind me. Locked it. Then he walked to the mirror. Touched the glass with his fingertips. "Do you know why I only take pictures of myself?" I shook my head. He smiled. "Because no one else has ever stayed long enough to be in them." I tried to laugh. It wouldn't come. He turned. Looked at me. "Asterisk, but you're different. You feel it too. The quiet. The way the world gets smaller when you're alone. You understand what it means to be careful. To be precise. Asterisk." I backed toward the door. My hand found the knob. Locked. He didn't move. Just watched. "I've been watching you for weeks," he said. Asterisk before the app. Before the match. "I know when you leave for work. I know which window you leave open. I know the sound your keys make when you drop them on the counter." Asterisk, my breath stopped. "You're not the first," he said. Asterisk, but you're the first who didn't run. The first who listened. The first who felt it too. Asterisk. I screamed. Or tried to. My voice cracked. He took a step forward. Then another. I grabbed the chair, swung it at the mirror. Glass exploded. Shards flew. One cut my cheek. Blood dripped down. He didn't flinch. Just kept coming. I kicked the table over, ran for the door. My fingers fumbled with the lock. Behind me, he started humming. A tune I didn't recognize. Soft. Calm. Like a lullaby. I got the door open. Ran. Branches tore at my face. I didn't stop. Didn't look back. I ran until my lungs burned. Until I saw streetlights. Until I collapsed on someone's porch and called 911. They found the cabin. Empty. No furniture. No mirror. Just a single photo on the floor. Me. Sleeping. Taken from inside my room. The window was open that night. I remember now. They never found him. But last night my phone buzzed. One new message. Just 2 words. Still watching.